Welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. This video is the Electrum Equation, an investigation into Dungeons & Dragons' most enigmatic coin. Let's have a quick look at the basic economic system and coinage used in Dungeons & Dragons. It's a very simple system, actually. There are copper, silver, gold, and platinum pieces. 10 copper pieces is the same as 1 silver piece. 10 silver pieces is the same as a gold piece, and 10 gold pieces has the same value as a platinum piece. This has primarily been chosen and set up for ease of mathematics. It's quite easy to split one coin into 10 of the next lower denomination. So if something costs 5 silver and you only have a gold, well, 1 gold is the same as 10 silver. You spend a gold, 5 silver back. It's easy mathematics, and Dungeons & Dragons is neither a maths lesson nor an economic simulator. So having a system that's easy to work out is really important. But thrown into this simple mix is the Electrum piece, with 5 silver being the same as 1 Electrum, and therefore 2 Electrum having the same value as 1 gold. What is Electrum? Does anyone use Electrum? I will be honest, I have played Dungeons & Dragons a lot, and I've never seen or held an Electrum piece. My character has never seen or held an Electrum piece, let's be clear on that. In fact, when I've been the Dungeon Master, I've simply told players that I don't bother using them. They don't fit into the system of equations that makes life easier. They serve no purpose in terms of gameplay, narrative, or mechanics. But, and here's the thing, Electrum is a real thing. Let's very quickly do a little bit of maths to compare the Dungeons & Dragons financial coinage with real-life material prices. One of the great things about using copper, silver, and gold coins is that the value of the piece is directly tied to the value of the metal. The idea is that you could melt that gold down and the gold bar that you produced from it would have the same value as the gold coins. This also assumes that your coins have not been adulterated or debased, that they haven't been melted and mixed with a cheaper material in order to stretch the value of your coins. This is something that happened quite a lot historically. The Romans really got into trouble with this. They would run out of money, they would debase their currency, and it would create financial strife. Debasing their currency did as much to destroy the Roman Empire as any barbarian horde ever did. So, spoiler alert, kids, don't debase your coins. Anyway, as of October 2025, copper is valued at about $11 per kilogram. Yes, I'm using American currency and metric units. That's not important. What's important is the ratio between these. Silver is valued at about $1,550 per kilo, and that's about 14 times as valuable as copper. Gold, on the other hand, is about $130,000 per kilogram, a bit less than 100 times the value of silver. So very roughly, there's a 100-fold leap from copper to silver and another 100-fold leap from silver to gold, and roughly a 10,000-fold leap from copper to gold. That would imply it would be better if 100 copper pieces were the same as 1 silver and 100 silver pieces were the same as 1 gold. It would mean you had to carry fewer coins around because those coins would be proportionally more valuable. But it does make the mathematics slightly more complex. Splitting 1 gold into 100 silver requires just a little bit more cognitive load than splitting it into 10, and part of Dungeons & Dragons is keeping the cognitive load low. So, yes, if we wanted to make a more realistic system, it would be 100-fold each step, but 10 is fine. I've also included the current spot price for platinum, which is only $53,000 per kilo, less than half the value of gold. Metal prices are very much subject to market forces, especially gold. People buy gold as a store of value. They use gold as a transfer of wealth. The price of gold is not directly related to its scarcity and difficulty of production, because platinum is about 1/30th as abundant as gold is. So that would imply that platinum should be 30 times as valuable. That's not how it works, especially not for gold. So historically, yes, platinum was more expensive than gold. At the moment, it isn't. But Dungeons and Dragons is not a financial math simulator, so let's not worry about that. So, as I said, Electrum is a real material, and I've used Wikipedia as a source for this. Plenty of other sources exist, and if you want to look it up, I would suggest that you go to the sources in the Wikipedia page. But Electrum is historically an alloy primarily of gold and silver, occasionally with other metals thrown in as well. But it was traditionally somewhere between 80% gold and 20% silver, and 20% gold and 80% silver. That is a very large range, but a blend of gold and silver nonetheless. Analysis of ancient Greek coinage showed that the gold content was about 55.5%, and that would leave about 44.5% silver. In other areas in the classic period, the gold content ranged from 46 to 43%. So about half gold, half silver seems to be historically what Electrum was. Now, the player's handbook tells us a very important and useful thing, that a coin weighs about 1/3 of an imperial ounce, and 50 coins weighs a pound. So if you have 50 of any coin, that's a pound. All the coins have the same mass. A gold coin has the same mass as a silver coin, has the same mass as a copper coin, and so on. And 50 coins weigh a pound. That's really useful, because with this information, we can start to do some quite interesting maths. So, what can we say about Electrum? An Electrum coin is made up of X amount of gold and Y amount of silver. It has a mass of 1/50th of a pound, the same as any other coin, and is worth 5 silver pieces. Now, I'm going to turn all of that information into a couple of equations. So, firstly, X plus Y equals 1. This is me saying that the amount of gold, X, plus the amount of silver, Y, is 1, the same mass as any other coin. I'm also saying that 10x plus y is 5, that 10 times the value of the gold plus the value of the silver is worth 5 silver. Remember, gold coins are worth 10 times as much as silver, and that value is based solely on the mass of the metal in the coin. So I have two equations, x plus y equals 1, and 10x plus y equals 5. Now, I can do a little bit of rearranging with that first equation. Instead of saying x plus y equals 1, I can rearrange it so that y equals 1 minus x. Why would I do this? Well, I can now substitute that equation for y into the other equation. Instead of having 10x plus y equals 5, I can say that 10x plus 1 minus x is 5. I've used the fact that y equals 1 minus x, and I've replaced the y with a 1 minus x. Neatening that equation up a little bit, I get 9x plus 1 equals 5. So 9x is 4, and x is 4/9. X was the amount of gold in an Electrum piece. It's 4/9 gold, 44.4% approximately. What this means is that an Electrum piece in Dungeons and Dragons is 44.4% gold and 55.6% silver. That's nice. That's about the same as the ratio found in classic coins. So an Electrum coin has an exact mix of gold and silver. We can actually double check this with a little bit of logical thought. If I take 4 gold and 5 silver pieces, remember it's 4/9 gold and therefore 5/9 silver, that would have a combined value of 45 silver. 4 gold coins is the same as 40 silver coins, plus I've actually got 5 silver coins as well. That's 45 silver from those 9 coins. I melt those 9 coins together and make 9 electrum pieces. Now, an electrum piece is worth 5 silver. So 9 electrum pieces is worth 45 silver, which is the same as the value of the coins that I started with. 4 gold plus 5 silver is the same as 9 electrum. Well, that's great. We've now done the maths. We know exactly what an electrum coin is. We know how to make them, how to blend them. Are we going to use them? Probably not, but it's interesting to know what they are. It's a blend of 4/9 gold and 5/9 silver. One other thing to take into consideration is a little bit of the maths of the mass of a coin. We're told that 50 coins weighs a pound, about 1/3 of an ounce per coin, and that's just a little bit over 9 grams. How much is 9 grams? Well, a modern US cent coin, a 1 cent coin, is about 2.5 grams. A British penny is 3.56 grams, and a 5-cent euro coin is about 3.92 grams. These coins are all significantly lighter than a Dungeons and Dragons coin. But they're not made of gold. Gold is very dense. Most of these coins are steel coated with copper or zinc or some other mixture of light, cheap materials. What if we were to take those coins and make something exactly the same size out of gold? Well, if you were to take a US 1 cent coin and have it made out of gold, gold is about 19.3 grams per cubic centimetre, and that's 2.7 times the density of a US 1 cent coin. So a modern US cent coin made from gold would be about 6.75 grams. That's a little bit lighter than a Dungeons and Dragons gold coin. If you were to take a British penny and make it out of gold, it would have a mass of around 8.9 grams, almost exactly the same as a gold piece in Dungeons and Dragons. A 5-cent euro coin made of gold would be 9.6 grams, a little bit heavier. With that, you can imagine quite easily what a handful of gold coins in Dungeons and Dragons would be. If you live in the UK, get yourself a handful of 1p coins, and that's the size of gold pieces. That's what they look like. They're tiny. When you see classic fantasy films or pirate films and they have these gold coins, they're normally quite large pieces of gold. But gold is ridiculously valuable. Those enormous coins would be worth hundreds of Dungeons and Dragons gold pieces. Gold pieces are quite small. So, we've learned something interesting about Electrum. We've learned a little bit about coins. A nice short video. I hope you enjoyed the maths, and I hope you enjoy your next game, whatever it may be.